So I just watched Wuthering Heights, um, and it was shockingly terrible. For the first part of this review, I'm really just going to try and focus on the movie here. This is really hard not to talk about the book that it's adapted from, so I'll do that later in the spoilers, but for now, I'm just going to talk about the movie by itself, what I think worked and what I think didn't work, and then we will be comparing the two. So, Wuthering Heights is the newest adaptation from the book of the same name by Emerald Fennell, who also directed Saltburn. Tragedy strikes when Heathcliff falls in love with Catherine Earnshaw, a woman from a wealthy family in 18th century England. And that's pretty much what this movie touches on. And I sort of wish that that was what I was expecting when I went into this. This movie is a over 2 hour love story between Heathcliff and Kathy. I'm going to talk about some of the technical things I think this movie pulled off because it's really the only thing that I liked about it. I think it was competently shot. Not a lot of movies aren't these days, but it was particularly good looking when we were roaming the outskirts of Wuthering Heights. Some of the actual sets production was very good, and the cinematography complemented it at times. Just so you know, I was really digging for these positives. I had my big magnifying glass out here. I thought the actual score, so the orchestral music, I think it sounded really good. I just don't know if it worked effectively in the tone of this movie. The costumes were probably the best part about this movie. The team behind them did an absolutely fantastic job. There were so many, they were so beautiful. Still on the talks of just the movie by itself, it was very long-winded and it felt really boring at times. I didn't care about Kathy or Heathcliff as characters. They weren't really developed well. Like, really the only development that they get is when they're kids and they're seen caring for each other. And that's sort of what you have to hold on to for the entire run length of this movie. So once it gets to about 2 hours and they haven't changed in any way, shape or form, and they're still just crazy about each other and still talking to each other about how much they love each other, it gets to a point like, can we just like hurry this up? This isn't really spoilers, but the needle drops, not for me. I never really like needle drops in movies that are like period pieces. Charlie XCX did the soundtrack, and the songs by themselves are fine. I knew going into it that she did the soundtrack, and I was like, it'd be fine if it was like a title thing or a credits thing, but no. Every 10 minutes there is a Charlie XCX needle drop. So if you like Charlie XCX, you will love this movie, let me tell you. It felt hard to be immersed in this world that they created because there really isn't much that they're trying to convey to you. The main focus of this movie is between Kathy and Heathcliff. But when you have songs from the year 2026, right, hundreds of years in the future, being played in this setting, it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. I think that's the majority of what I have to say that I can say without getting into spoilers. So there's your spoiler warning. Let's talk about this from an adaptation level. Emily Bronte made Wuthering Heights. It was the only book that she published, and it is one of my favorite books of all time. It is extremely important to Gothic literature. People who haven't read Wuthering Heights think it's a romance, and really that's only a layer of it. Wuthering Heights is a shockingly grotesque story about taboo fictions, about vengeance. It really is an uneasy reading experience, and that's why I love it so much. There are romance elements, but they do not feel romantic. They feel odd. They feel off-putting because of the taboo subject matter. Did this movie adapt this book well? No. This spat in its face. I got about 10 minutes into the movie where I was like, okay, so they're changing some stuff around in this, I guess. Because it turns out that Kathy's brother is dead, and she names Heathcliff after him. But what? What? I was like trying to see where this would go. Like, if there's no brother, how do we get these conflicts, these major conflicts? So they did some character swapping, and instead of Kathy's brother being abusive to Heathcliff, Kathy's dad's abusive to Heathcliff. I think the characters are super misunderstood. Like Heathcliff, when Heathcliff returns, he's just a dick. Like, not really what I got from the book. He's supposed to return with manners and supposed to be gentlemanly with his newfound wife. As the movie progressed, I'm like, okay, this must mainly be about Kathy and Heathcliff and their relationship. And then I was really bored, and I usually never do this. Okay, I usually never do this, but I looked down at my watch. and we're about 2 hours into the movie. Kathy was still alive and well. She was pregnant without a baby's bump, right? So, you know, there was about 15 minutes for this baby to be born, for Heathcliff to be cursed by Kathy, for the baby to grow up under Heathcliff's restrictions, for Heathcliff to start extracting revenge upon those who did him wrong, or did Kathy wrong in his eyes, for Catherine, the daughter, to find her real biological father, and for Heathcliff to die of shock. Guess what, guys? None of that happened. What makes Wuthering Heights such an interesting and compelling story is when Kathy dies and haunts Heathcliff. When Heathcliff changes as a character and starts tormenting the people around him. When he breaks being a gentleman, right? Like, what? And none of it happened. The best part of the story didn't happen, because that's when shit hits the fan and things are crazy. The movie ends, spoilers, with Kathy dying without giving birth. The baby is stillborn, I believe. I don't know if, like, that ending was to be taken literal or if it was a expression of emotion. Towards the end, Kathy has some disease, I can't remember what it is, but earlier in the movie she says that the baby's been long gone. And in the end of the movie, she's lying in a bed with leeches all over her and she starts bleeding from her legs out onto the ground. They were talking about, well, she said it was gone ages ago, so who knows? Who knows? I don't know if that was a stylistic thing. I don't know why the leeches were there. Maybe it was related to the disease. Heathcliff comes in, he's like, oh no, you're dead, but I loved you. Anyway, and then the movie ends. Heathcliff was portrayed as a horrible, horrible person. When he returns to Wuthering Heights with Elizabeth, he's just like, hey Elizabeth, I hate you. I hate you. And I love Kathy and I just want to be with you to get back at Kathy. But I'll have sex with you if you want. Yeah, is that cool? And she's like, yep. Heathcliff and Kathy start having sex without anyone knowing, which is like, why? You know, Kathy was like, nah, we need to stop this. We need to stop this. I'm having a baby and my husband, he likes me. And I love him. And Heathcliff's like, I'll kill him if you want. Kathy's like, no, don't be silly. Stop seeing me. So then Heathcliff's like, okay, Elizabeth, be my wife. Come back to Wuthering Heights with me and I'm gonna put you in this little homeless shed and we're gonna live there and you're gonna write letters for me. And then there was puppy play. There was puppy play, ladies and gentlemen. That sounds like bullshit. I promise you. I promise you there was puppy play in this movie. Elizabeth is hung up on the collar to the rack. Heathcliff's like, yeah, I told you I'd do this to you. Dude, what? When Kathy first told you that she didn't want you or she didn't need you, or at least that's what you thought, you didn't act this way. You're acting worse after becoming a gentleman. When the same conflict is given to you, like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. The characters are all over the place. So yeah, there are huge changes in this movie, and not in like a subtle way. These changes are monumental and completely disregard the book. The whole movie is just like, Heathcliff, let's have sex. I'm just kidding. I hate you. Go away. I lied again. Let's have some more sex. And everyone's just, this is such a horny movie. Everyone wants to have sex all the time. The intention of the book was completely misregarded. This movie is so pretentious. Oh my god, the intro to the movie, the way my jaw dropped. If you've seen it, you'll know, but it starts like just a black screen and you hear some like squeaking and a guy moaning and you're like, alright, so someone's hitting, you know? And then it cuts to someone being hung. Like, that was shocking. I was like, holy, that's cool. And then, turns out the guy being hung has a stiffy pointed out by some kids, and then everyone's just like, oh, that's hot. I'm not joking. This sounds like I'm making this up. I promise you, this is how the movie starts. You get a close-up of his shaft outline, and then you see the reaction to everyone, and they're like, ooh, and they start like lowering their dresses and stuff. People are making out. What? Anyway, I didn't have a very good experience with this movie, but I'm sure some of you did because I have never seen reviews this mixed. The Letterboxd, actually I'll just show you the Letterboxd star ratio. It's insane. Look, it's almost like completely evened out. I've never seen that before. Okay guys, let's look up the box office. This felt big budgeted. And I know it had an IMAX release, $80 million. I don't know if this is the kind of movie that will make money. $50 million debut. It's It came out today. I said to Jack before we went in that the target demographic is probably middle-aged women, and the whole cinema was packed with middle-aged women, and they seemed to enjoy it. We were the only people in the cinema that weren't middle-aged women, and we hated it. This is my worst movie of the year, but to be fair, I mean, it's probably going to stay my worst movie of the year, but it doesn't have much competition. This year hasn't been very good. Sad year for adaptations. This has given me no hope for Resident Evil. Anyway, thanks for watching the review. Sorry for the disappointing news. Hope you have a great day. Skip this one. Thanks for watching.